Harry face a new crisis as they are being removed from the royal family. According to a royal biographer, Harry and Meghan may be concerned that they are being slowly edged out of the royal family. Harry and Meghan must be worried that they are slowly being eased out of the royal picture, according to royal biographer Phil Dampier, who spoke with The Sun. He went on to say, King Charles seems to be hesitating on whether to grant Prince and Princess titles to Archie and Lilibet. And the fact that they have been demoted on the palace website is another indicator that they are not seen as working royals. He added, they are not working royals and live in America, so they don't need titles or their children, plus King Charles wants and wanted for a very long time to slim the royals down. Secondly, they don't deserve it after how they treated the Queen, and if I was king, I'd wait to see what they have put in their book. Don't trust the pair of them, they feed off each other's weakness. Yes, he has a good point. King Charles made it very clear in that speech that he gave that he wishes his son nothing but the best in his new life in America. But the fact is, Meghan and Harry cannot have their cake and eat it too. Now, I understand that if they're no longer considered a part of the royal family, they're not going to be able to make money off of it for very long. I mean, there's only really so much they can say about the family before it just becomes a bunch of noise that nobody wants to listen to. I mean, they don't work on behalf of the monarchy, and they don't even live in the UK. So in my opinion, yeah, they should be gotten rid of. Their kids should not get titles, because that's how the monarchy would be perceived as incredibly hypocritical. The Princess Royal's children don't have titles because she didn't want titles for them. See, Meghan and Harry are not working royals, and they don't receive taxpayer funding anymore. Instead, they're just a couple of normal, ordinary citizens working independently and paying their taxes, I hope. Kudos to them for never being so self-entitled. The future of the monarchy has to stop offering titles to anybody outside of the core of working royals who really work hard to carry out their duties in the UK. By continuing to break rules and break protocol whenever they could, Harry and Meghan showed so much contempt. Instead of just listening to criticism and trying to play the game right or maybe trying to change things slowly, no, they just wanted their names in the headlines all the time. They wanted to do whatever they could to one-up the carefully coordinated PR of other family members, and perhaps more importantly, the causes that they were highlighting. I don't understand what their problem is. I mean, always having to go against well-established norms of royal behavior, never wanting to actually dress appropriately, setting up paparazzi shots, and then making some very strange attempts at secrecy, being very rude to hosts, to a democratically elected leader of the country's biggest ally at that, and showing so much disrespect towards guests when on official business representing the Queen and the UK. Shirking their official responsibilities to go to film premieres too, and then whining about how difficult things were against a backdrop of visiting some very underprivileged people. Meghan can just go back to carrying a briefcase filled with money on stage and those high heels and a miniskirt. But Harry, what could he possibly do? He doesn't really seem to do anything for the companies that pay him so much money at this moment, other than maybe getting up on his soapbox and sharing his inane platitudes with everybody. And I thought that Meghan and Harry said they really just wanted to be part-time royals and live in the U.S. See, they wanted all of the perks like the sovereign's grant, security, etc. And they also wanted to be allowed to involve themselves in commercial enterprises. And in exchange, they would agree to do a few royal engagements that they wanted to do. Of course, they're going to get to pick and choose those. The nerve of those two. So of course the Queen said no. And since then, Meghan has tried to say that other members got the deal that they wanted, which is completely false. They claim that they wanted out of the royal family for privacy. They talked about how titles didn't really mean anything to them. And supposedly, they didn't want titles for their kids anyway. The family reached out to them so many times, like when his grandfather was ill and when he was close to death. And the same with Harry's grandmother, who also invited them to where she was. And of course, they didn't go. So in my opinion, it's basically the opposite of what that headline is trying to suggest. And anyway, it was their decision. They were the ones who wanted to live a life of celebrity and make all kinds of lucrative deals. It's the complete opposite of the real purpose of the monarchy. Their charity work, yeah, it is all about self-promotion. The royal family really needs to create some distance between themselves and between the Sussexes, because the Sussexes are such bad news. And at this point, they are so irrelevant. The succession is already decided, and it doesn't run down his side of the family. Harry already served his job as the spare. So what we're now going to get to see is the longest pout and whine in history, as Harry slowly fades into the abyss of complete irrelevance. Charles has to stand firm and he has to be decisive and not give in to them. I hope that he does not give prince and princess titles to those invisible children. I mean, the parents are simply not working royals. They don't even live in the UK. And one of the kids was born in the US. This would make a real mockery of the monarchy if it's allowed, and people would not support it. And if the children are real, then it is really sad that they're at the center of all of this mess, but they've only got their parents to thank for that. They didn't want the responsibilities of royal life, and so they decided to live in a whole different country. So they took the children away from ever getting to know royal life. It's absurd to even suggest that when they turn 18, they can make their own minds up about whether or not they want to be royals. See, it's not just a normal title or a job. It's a complete lifestyle. It really is a responsibility. And it is not something that those kids can just pick up after they haven't been raised as royals. I hate the fact that Meghan and Harry want those titles because that also means that they expect the taxpayers of the UK to start paying for their hypocrisy once again. They shouldn't get anything from the UK public after everything they've accused the citizens of. And I don't really know how true this is, but they sure do seem to be confused. They wanted to quit their jobs as working royals, but they also want to keep the titles. Doesn't make sense. They claim they want to live a private life, but they do so many speaking engagements. They do podcasts, they do interviews, and they even have this Netflix documentary in the works in the US. They claim that they didn't want the pressure of their children growing up as royals, but they really seem to be offended that their kids didn't automatically get these HRH titles. I think the reality of all of it is, without being royal, they're understanding now that they are absolutely nothing. And so they are clinging on for dear life because they understand the connections to the royals is all that they have. Harry and Meghan just can't have it both ways. They chose to ditch the royal family and they ran away from the UK forever, so they shouldn't be on any lists whatsoever. Their children shouldn't be entitled to any titles either. Meghan's trying to whine about the family being so awful. Well, it seems like she's more than happy to take all the perks of being under the general royal family umbrella. And again, they claim that they want privacy, but they hang on to those royal titles because they know they're nothing without them. But no one is fooled by those titles. No one is ever going to forget how they did that wine fest while Harry's grandfather lay dying in the hospital. And people will also never forget how they couldn't be bothered to go to visit the Queen before she passed away. She asked them to come see her this summer and they refused. So Prince Harry, a complete waste of space. You know what? Harry gave up the last precious years that he could have spent with his own grandmother because of, I don't know what it is, if it's lust or love or just brainwashing. Either way, I mean, a wife who would encourage family relationships to be destroyed is a horrible person. Considering the passing of the Queen, you would think that Meghan would try to repair the relationship with her own father, who doesn't seem to be in good health right now. In my opinion, any decision about titles really needs to wait until after that book comes out. I think that Harry's comment about it being a reflection of the man that he's become is not very promising. I don't really care what he ends up writing. I just hope that we get it all out in the open and then we can laugh at it. And you, what do you think about the Sussexes? Please let us know your views below in the comments section. If you think my video was helpful, please remember to like and share it with anybody else who would enjoy it.